Hey everyone, it's Peter Kerr from Rock Daydream Nation, and I've got a special guest to the show. I've got Stevie Decanay from BUCKCHERRY. How are you, mate?
Hi, how are you?
Good,
Thanks
good.
for thank you for having me, Peter.
You have got a new album coming out on the 13th of June for BUCKCHERRY called Raw Like Thunder. Is it a
Yeah.
relief to get this new music out after all the writing and recording?
I mean, it's always a kind of a cathartic, like writing um is always this process um sometimes difficult, but most of the time it's a labor of love. And when you finally get to share that with people, it's a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. You always want to connect with the people, or with the people that your core fans, but also you want to make new friends too, right? We all want to be loved. So otherwise we wouldn't be doing this. We wouldn't be putting out music. We would just keep it for ourselves. So but yeah, we are very excited. We've already put out uh two singles. No, three singles: Raw Like Thunder, Come On, and Set It Free. That came out a couple days ago. So those are on the worldwide intro webs, and the album is another 30 day, or probably 28 days now,
who's counting?
right? Who's
Who's
counting?
counting? Who's counting?
Yeah, not me. Right. So,
Hey,
but yeah,
those songs are great. Come On and Raw Like
thank you.
Thunder has a very classic rock feel with a lot of the typical Buck Cherry groove. Is
Yeah,
that a conscious decision by the band that you wanted to go in that sort of direction, or it just comes out that way?
this album, it's not a conscious decision. I know for the last couple albums, well, the volume 10, we wanted to have a big rock production that was kind of akin to maybe an 80s Bob Rock, Mutt Lang kind of big guitars, big drums, reverb, layers of everything. This one was more stripped down,
Yeah,
less gain on the amp, you know.
yeah.
So when you do that, uh the frequencies poke a little bit more for the guitars, so they cut more. So we have a right and a left, or for you, a left and a right. I don't know
Yeah.
if that came out that way.
Yeah.
So, and then like pretty much dry present drums, just a room kind of reverb.
Yeah.
Um, and then the rest is that's all Buck Cherry. That there's it's no secret that part of our DNA is a large part of our DNA is classic rock. A large part of our DNA is AC/DC, and that's their approach to rock and roll, and we're a rock and roll band. So um, there's gonna, we referenced it. I mean, it works. It works for us. Part of our sound is a 130 BPM. Start with a real catchy guitar riff,
Yeah. Yeah.
just like a lot of the stuff in the 70s guitar, you know, rock
Uh,
and
uh,
roll.
Absolutely. You guys have a lot of groove in your playing, and there's a lot of space between the notes. Is that a
Yeah.
challenge to get that in the studio, or does Marty,
Fredrickson. Yeah.
who is he? Does he intervene a lot and point you in that sort of direction?
His Our musical language with him is very synchronistic. We without even saying what I'm thinking, without even saying what I'm thinking, he already knows. And I think the way we write, if I come in with a riff, he knows. He's just a very musical guy. That's why we latched on to him. That's why we called him 3 albums ago. because he's got a lot of success. He knows how to interpret what we're thinking and get it into and put it into music, into a
Mm.
musical language. So creating space, yeah, he knows how to do it. Like like I think we all know how to do it. Being in this band, and even though it's Marty, Josh, and I writing, when the band gets into the room to record it, they're very aware of what the song needs uh, as far as musical instrumentation, instead of being busy on the bass or or just being quarter notes.
Yeah.
Same, same with Francis on drums. He's a monster player, but he knows what he's to how to play for the song. If it requires just a four on the floor, you know, 130 BPM, he knows what to do instinctually.
He
That's
stays
the
in the
reason.
pocket, doesn't he? He just stays in the pocket.
He stays in the pocket, and he knows what's the all every guy knows what to do without being asked, and and that's why we chose them. We could have asked anyone to play bass at the time, that we lost Jimmy, and
Mm.
but we know um that musically and off stage we could get along, and these guys fit with what we're doing, you know.
Is there a lot of one take songs? Are you a one take sort of guy, or you don't mind doing multiple takes until you get it right?
Right. I'm a one take guy, but but uh, Marty that and Evan, his son, really they're very objective, right? And they know the recording process a lot better. And what they can do is they can break it down to so everyone's, instead of editing with Pro Tools, they just rather get a perfect take.
Yeah.
So, in order for us to all sound like Back in Black or that album, like what they did is they all played it once, but they also there was a lot of editing going on behind the
Mm,
scenes. You know what I mean?
mm.
So that we would take sections. You know what I mean? One take sessions. I'd like to think that we're all like on top of our game as far as musicians. Like I've played with very few that are as solid as these guys, but everyone, when it comes to the studio and executing a a song like "Come On," it sounds easy, but to be tight, like it takes a lot of concentration and a little Hollywood magic, you know.
Absolutely. It's like AC/DC. A lot of people think that Phil
Yeah.
Rudd playing drums, it's simple, but it's not.
No, I mean to be on that backbeat, just it's not an easy thing. Like if you take away that precision, like if you listen to like Zeppelin and they didn't have a click, you know, if you listen to the speed at the beginning of the song as opposed to the speed at the end of the song, there's two different BPMs going on there. And Mutt Lang with AC/DC, like if you listen to AC/DC before Mutt Lang, it's a different animal.
Yeah.
So,
Do you think he spoiled things for a little while, Matt, with that production, that really glossy, like there's a lot of
you
folks.
know,
There's a lot of folks with Def Leppard. They love the old Def Leppard, but as soon as he got his
sure.
fingertips on Hysteria and Pyromania, that was it for them.
Yeah.
Where do you fall in that sort of argument?
Look, would 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 Def Leppard have been the multi-billion selling Def Leppard without Mutt Lang? I don't think so. You
Yeah.
know, do I love Def Leppard high and dry? Absolutely. You know what I mean? I mean, it's got an energy, it's got a vibe,
Mm.
and then Pyromania, it gets a little cleaner, and then by, like anything after is, I mean, in my opinion, they're masterpieces. It's, like they can't, it's really tough to recreate live. I enjoy what they did later, after meeting Mutt, you know, so.
Yeah. Well, just be lucky that he's not your producer because you'd be doing guitar lines, like one guitar line per
Yeah,
week or something.
yeah. I mean, well, it didn't. Uh, One of those albums, it took like 2 years,
2 years for one song or something. I don't know.
and no, for the whole
Yeah, yeah,
album.
it did. It did.
I
Yeah,
can't remember which
yeah.
one,
Hey,
but yeah.
what are your guitar influences? What's your DNA? Who does it lead back to?
Well, it's more have been added as I got older, but I'm still a student, like, and I still love it like when I was a kid.
Yep.
Like I still practice, on show days and days off. I noodle when I'm watching TV,
Mm.
when I'm on the road. It started with Jimi Hendrix and Angus Young, Jimmy Page, and those are my main guys. And then as I got older, then Eddie Van Halen came into the picture, but Randy Rhoads was like that hit my radar harder at
The
the time because that's what.
neoclassical type. Yeah.
Yeah, and that metal thing. Um, and then when I turned 18, 19, I got booed off the stage for shredding at a blues club. I went to a
Right.
blues club, and they were playing Stormy. It was an open jam, and I was playing Stormy Monday and in E, and the changes were happening, and I was just like, and that you don't do that, not in Chicago. And I got booed off the stage, and I was crushed. I was shattered, and I went home vowing to never play like that again. Right. So I went home and I started learning the blues. My gateway was Stevie Ray Vaughan. I was
Mm.
I was 18, 19 years old. No, I was maybe 20. And then I went backwards from there. Found the Three Kings: BB King, Freddie King, and uh and then there was a guy in my hometown named Pete Cozy, who was a session guy for Chess Records, and he took me under his wing, and I grew in that direction, just more rock and roll and blues, from there on out. And then recently, I don't know, the last few years, um, I just been, like I grew up in the '80s, so Warren DeMartini, Zach Wild, they're all part of the way I would feel
Yeah.
things and play things and hear things. So, I've been working on a little of that through, and we're on the road with Steel Panther. So I got Satchel over here, doing this, so
Yeah.
I get influenced that way too. So, you know,
That was the golden age of the Guitar Hero in the '80s with the DeMartinis and the Lynches, etc., etc.
yeah, yeah.
Where do you think it's gone? Do you think it'll come back? Do you think there are guitar heroes, but they're just in different areas? I don't know.
Well, it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be, like that again. That was the generation where, like, DeMartini, Jakey Lee, Lynch, and then after that, there was like the Paul Gilberts started coming out.
Red Beaches and then Doug Aldrich, like the
Yeah,
second and third
yeah,
generation type. Yeah.
yeah, uh, and then by the '90s, killed all that. All those guys had to go into hiding because there were no guitar. It was so not cool to play a guitar solo. So
Mm.
for the next 10, 15 years, there was minimal if any, shredding going on. And then YouTube starts growing these you know, influencer bedroom guitar players that are just devastating.
Mm,
Um, but those guys are not gonna. They're not on stage, with playing, to thousands of people, and it's more. It's I don't know. I'm not against it, but it's just not the motivation isn't the same for them.
yeah.
Like for the guitar players, it was to be in a band and you go on tour, and for a lot of them meet girls and make money, and
Mm,
the rock and roll dream being like Motley Crue. The guitar players now that are shredding, like are very. I mean, there's a kid from Italy. I don't know if you've seen a Mancuso, who is just he's a finger picker, and
mm.
it's mind blowing. And I don't think any of those guys write songs. It's just they're soloing over jam tracks, or
Yeah.
playing other people's stuff. But I
But
mean, I think it's great.
is there feel though? That's the thing. They're just replicating
Yeah.
notes without the feel.
Well,
You guys
I mean,
are live and
mhm.
you've got the connection and the
Yeah.
feel, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, arguably, like I have the feel, but I don't have any of the technical stuff. I'm
Yeah.
a rock guy, like
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just a lot of vibe than
Mm.
technical like 30-second notes. But, like that's I didn't put the time in like these other kids are that are coming out now,
Yeah.
that can um there's some like mind-blowing guys out there that are in guitar, like I'm in it for the songs. Like I'm in a band and we're on tour. Like these
Yep.
guys are their audience, it's about making content and getting followers, and they get paid that way,
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
it's not any better or worse. It's just different now,
Yeah.
you
Understand.
know.
Your band are kind of survivors because, like you were saying, that rock was getting pillared for a little while. No guitar solos, but you guys did all
Hmm.
right. Like the album 15 was successful. Songs like Crazy Bitch and Sorry were huge in 2005. Why do you think your band kind of resonated with audiences with rock, where others were sort of floundering a little bit?
Like if I knew the answer to that, we'd have songs like that on every album. You know, I think we were one of the last, if not the last, rock and roll band to do double platinum numbers in
Yeah.
sales. I think after soon after that, it was streaming became the way of the universe. So the only ones making money after that were the record companies. The artist was no longer uh, part of that equation. Um, it became the videos all just became the loss leader, the commercial for uh, the live show. So we're recording albums. Our artists are recording albums and putting out videos. Now they're only putting out singles and videos, and that's just kind of the advertisement to come see the live show. You know what I mean?
Mm,
At least the rock bands for sure, because no one, the record deals reflect that too. That no one's getting signed. They used to get signed for $500,000 plus, and now it's a lot less than that. You know,
yeah.
if they're getting signed at all.
Yeah, absolutely. With the US rock audiences, what are you noticing? Are you noticing cross-generational, or is it a lot of your older fans? Are you seeing a mix, or what's the state of rock in America at the moment with the
Mm.
audiences?
Well, I think the rock audience, you get different reports. Rock is dead.
So
Everywhere
Gene
I
says.
go, Yeah, I mean, I everywhere I go, there's rock lovers out there. I mean, and if you look at country music, that's where they all went. All the rock, there's tons of rock. I think country music is all rock now. Um, but is it generate? I mean, there's a lot less young people, you know. But that's just at our shows. We're an older band, so I don't know. Maybe there's younger bands uh, that have big young audiences. I don't know.
Yeah,
We have seen through the last few years more younger people coming,
yeah.
but yeah, a lot of it is our core fans.
Absolutely. I was talking
Yeah.
to Doug from the Dead Daisies, and he said his audience is in Europe, and that's where a lot of the younger folks are. You find when you tour Europe and those parts that it's a different audience to America, a different reaction to your material?
Um, I do know that outside of America, like Europe, Australia,
We love you. I
South
mean, you.
South America,
Mm,
they're more passionate. They're more outspoken, you know.
mm,
I don't know. It's the culture, you know, like the football culture, the
yeah,
rugby. They're just more nuts.
yeah,
Um, and they're definitely more rock and roll in Australia, for sure. You know,
yeah.
like AC/DC is made sure of that.
Well, you fit
So
into pub rock. You fit into that
yeah,
DNA of like the Angels, and
yeah,
you were supported by Rose Tattoo. What was that like
yeah,
playing with
yeah.
them? Was that a gas?
Dude, I mean, come on, legendary, you know, and
Yeah.
Angry can still fucking sing. You know, like
Mm,
he had an accident the last show. Um, he fell and couldn't finish the tour. But every night that guy was how old is he? I don't even know. Isn't he 70?
yes, he is. Yeah.
You know, like I don't know anybody that can sing like that past 60, you know,
Mm,
or past Pat. I don't know. Brian Johnson is that old, but he's not singing that strong. Like
yeah.
he's great. He's a legend. I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that but it's been weathered. You know, it's taken a toll. It doesn't sound
Yeah.
the same as 81.
Yeah.
Angry is a phenom. You know,
Yeah.
he's a unicorn.
Absolutely. Do you think Buck Cherry's going to
So
push it as long as they can? Just keep rocking? Because
fuck
you
yeah,
seem
dude.
you seem to be in a really happy place because you've had a few lineup changes, and I want to
Yeah.
get your take on this. Do you think that tension in a band creates good music, or just getting on actually creates better music?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I think getting on creates better music. You
Mm,
know, like the tension, um, anything negative, this is just my experience and my perception, but anything negative doesn't have positive results, and no matter what it is. You
mm,
know, whether it's in music, especially music, a live performance, if it's in a work situation in an office, or like if you make your employees fear you, and I don't think, or if the employees love their boss, what's going to have better results? I think the latter. you know
Have you observed that firsthand, supporting bands or playing with bands where you've seen the dynamics have just been terrible, and you just go, "Wow, I'm glad that's not us."
yeah, 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 a lot. um
Motley Crue, separate
and
limos.
You know what? We saw them a few months ago, and I'm friends with Nikki, and well, I'm friends with all of them, and they're all getting on well now. When we went on tour with them in our early days, um, they were very separate. Like some were still partying, some were sober and or trying to be sober, and they would just meet at they wouldn't see each other until they were seeing each other on stage. The bigger they get, it seems like that's the case. Like I remember Aerosmith was like that.
Really?
Like yeah, they don't. Kiss wasn't. Kiss was around each other all day, and then they go do the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the bands that get on well, uh, and have and just an open communication with each other, last longer.
Yeah. You've been with the band just over 20 years. Does
Hmm.
Josh or the other members of the band when you're playing live still surprise you? Just pull something out of the bag and you just turn around and you're completely shocked?
um, uh, Sometimes yes, but it's rare. I mean, we've been doing it so long, and we get into maybe not a rut as much as it is we get into a groove that in a rhythm that works. You know what I mean? And then we're always throwing in new songs. Um, but I think the only time that I'm surprised is when he throws in jokes. Like certain, like he'll throw in. I can't think of one right now, but like he'll crack a joke live, and I'll be like, oh, and it's like, and it's funny, and we can, or he'll just because I have him directly in my ears, and he'll be like, "Isn't that right, Steve?" And I'll be like, "Oh, yeah," like so. But yeah, I mean, if there's nothing out of the ordinary, that's fine with me too. I don't like big surprises during a show. Like big surprises to me is like gear going out, or like somebody not hearing the one, and then we're all coming in at different times.
Fantastic. Just
Yeah.
a couple more questions. If you had to choose
Yeah.
one Buckcherry song that sums up the sound, the attitude, the ethos of the band, what would it be? What would be
I
your
mean,
Des Island Buckcherry song that sums up the band?
on of all time, or
Hmm.
on the new album?
Oh, well, you could choose both if you want.
Yeah. Okay. I think, even though I'm not on it, uh, I think "Lit Up" is that quintessential Buck Cherry sound. It's an open tuning that was really, when I hear that open tuning, um, when anyone else is playing it too, it's like, that's Buck Cherry, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and that's where a lot of people that, well, I've heard covers, people playing covers of us. They'll send, people send me a video from a bar, and I'm like, oh, they're not playing it right. You know, they're not playing it right.
yeah,
Um, it could be lit up. Obviously, Crazy Bitch is the one everyone knows, and that's got all the elements too, but in a different way. It's got that groove. Like I feel like we have this um, kind of funk influence, or part of our DNA somewhere, that we all like um, funk music, 70s funk music, and that shows up in Lit Up, or no, excuse me, in Crazy Bitch. And that's quickly identifiable. When you hear "ba-da, ba-da," everyone knows what's coming next.
yeah.
And that verse. And I haven't heard a lot of songs in rock and roll that sound like that. That have that. Hey, Anyway, um, I think on the new album, uh, I think "Come On" sounds,
Yeah,
that's a quintessential Buck Cherry sound, you know.
absolutely.
So, but yeah, 130 BPM, four on the floor. You know, start with a real identifiable riff,
Yep.
and it's also anything that Josh sings on, the skinny tattooed guy,
Yep.
anything that he we've tried several bands during Buckcherry, right? And they were very different musically, but the same reaction. You know, it sounds like Buckcherry. So
Yeah.
anything that Josh is singing on, it sounds like Buckcherry.
It's got his charisma and personality on all on
Yeah,
these songs, isn't it? It comes out in
he's
spades.
he's got a tone, um, and a cadence that is uniquely him, that
Yeah,
a lot of guys don't have. It's a
absolutely.
very so.
So, final question. Sum up what can folks expect from the album, and for the US folks on tour, what can they expect with your tour, your shows?
Um,
Old and new,
well,
bit of old and new.
well, I mean, we always have to play the hits, you
Yep.
know, and now that we have uh 12 albums, studio albums, um, and we've had singles and videos up at each one, uh, we have to do the most visible songs first. Crazy Bitch, Sorry, Lit Up, um, and then there's that leaves about in an hour and a half set about four or five, four, maybe three or four of the new ones. So, uh, but yeah, but Josh is always, he makes the set list every day. So he usually rotates uh in mid set, towards the end of the set, he rotates several songs. So there's about 9 songs that are taking each other's place at any given night.
Keeps it fresh, doesn't it? Instead of doing the same set every night, just something.
Yeah,
Yeah, it keeps it fresh for you guys too, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, look, after 200 shows, it's all blurry and it's all the same, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. For me, it's all I know, you know. So, and I still love it.
Fantastic. It's a pleasure to talk to you, Stevie, and we'd love to
Well,
see you
oh,
guys.
man.
Your band is close to our hearts. You've been here a few times, so
Um,
come
yeah, but
come back.
well,
Come back.
same. Right back at you,
Yeah.
Australia.
So you reckon maybe
So,
next year we could jag another visit? I know you were only here last year,
yeah,
but you got the
no,
crowd.
absolutely. You know, we're already working on it, I can tell you that.
All right, I
So,
got the scoop.
yeah, you
It's
got
here
it here. He heard it here first.
on Rock Day Dream
So,
Nation. Anyway, all the
yeah,
best, Stevie. Wonderful, and we look
yeah.
forward to the album coming out. All the best, mate. Cheers.
Thank you.
All
Thanks
right,
for having
yeah.
me.
All right, see ya. Bye.
All right.